Okay. Are we
How you
recording?
doing? Yeah, we're recording.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
What's up, dude? I see you've entered the geopolitical sphere. Was this part of MI6's plan for you the entire time?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like people are like, "Oh, you've done so well. You're crushing it. I can't believe you got an interview with the president." I was like, "I'm a fucking spook. How do you think I got the interview? You fucking stupid." Dude, that was wild. That was wild.
Yeah. How was that, man?
Do you know the truth? Do you know the truth of it all?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll tell you two stories. Firstly, we had as soon as I heard about as soon as he did the spaces and it became public, right? I I was like, I've got to get the first interview. You want to have the first one. So I just reached out to the brother and I was basically harassing him, saying, "Come on, give me the interview." And he was like, "Yeah, come on. If you come to El Salvador, you can have the interview. I can't tell you what day." So I had to let my ex-wife know, and I was going to be like up to a week late, and finally got it. But I asked for a meeting first because I didn't want to just cold interview the guy. I was like, I knew I had to meet him first. So I got the meeting, and it was really funny because you get there and there was like all these kind of soldiers lining the corridor, and as you walk down, their eyes follow you down the room. But there was about an hour wait before the interview. The meeting started. He was just late, and I probably went for a piss 5 times because I was so nervous about it. It kept going, and I was thinking these soldiers kept looking at me, going back and forth, but they were thinking, "You fucking moron." And then then we got the interview. But the problem with the interview is, I woke up on I got this bad back.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Do you?
Well, I thought you did. Well, CJ knew.
Yeah, I read your Twitter, so
Oh yeah.
Well, fuck
Sorry,
you,
Peter. I don't remember every intimate detail of your life, but yes.
I've been bitching about my back for about a year. Anyway, my back's fucked, right? But like it's manageable. So I wake up in the morning. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm like, I'm gonna go and get a coffee. I can't sit down. I try and sit down, and it's just the sciatica's agony down my leg. So I was like, I text Michael Peterson. I was like, look, if you got any drugs I can take, I've got this problem. So he turns up with like Walter White with everything, and he was like, and I ended up taking a tramadol and a muscle relaxant, and that worked. I was able to sit down. I was like, okay, we can do this. So we pack our shit up. Me and Jamie jump in the taxi up to San Salvador, but I have to lay on the back seat because I can't sit down. And then we get there, and I take him again as we go to the interview, and then the brother comes. He's like, "Can I get you anything?" I was like, "Can you get me a whiskey?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So he gets me a whiskey just so I can calm down. And I was fine. I wasn't too nervous during the interview, but about 40 minutes in, I start feeling a bit queasy, and I was like, "Oh shit, I think I feel a bit sick." And then I started going through my house like, God, what would happen if I just vomited right now on camera in front of the president? And then I was like, well, now I'm going to fucking puke because I'm thinking about this. Right, I'm going to puke. All I could think was puke. Like, so I ended up saying, look, can I have a 5-minute break? And I had to just go to the toilet and calm myself down. And I don't know what it was. I think I was just overwhelmed by the whole situation.
Was that when you had to check back in with the CIA? Was that what was
That's
going
why I
on?
had to go in and go, are my
changed
questions okay?
The battery was out on the wire, so you had to
The wire tap was,
Yeah. So that was that. But it was wild, man.
So
it was
how
just
are
so
they-
overwhelming.
How are they planning to infiltrate El Salvador, Peter?
Well, I think they're leaving it over to our brothers in the CIA for this. MI6 we're just providing intel.
You know what I want to know is, like, you were there right after the big announcement and everything. Like, what was the energy like on the ground, and like, how did it feel, and like, just what was the sense you got from being there?
Well, no, I mean, I was there a few days afterwards. I mean, it was just kind of like I went down to El Zonte, and everyone was just kind of cool. Everyone was kind of like, "This is amazing. This is all the work we've put in. It's great." And then fucking Brock Pierce and his shitcoin entourage turn up. So
really legitimizing all the effort from Jack Mahlers and everybody else over the last couple of years. Do
you know what? They're fucking wankers. So. So he turned up at there's this like really nice hotel in Zonte, and I got a couple of invites from different people at the thing to come along. I was like, I'm going to go, and so I turn up, and it's like this it feels like one of those dinners that maybe Maduro has behind doors while the Venezuelans are starving and they're drinking and enjoying themselves. And there's like this guy playing the saxophone. I was like, what's this bollocks? Like, everyone who's come down to El Zonte has come to spend time in the community and get to know it, and they've come down for this shindig. So anyway, Brock comes over to me and Jamie, and I'm like, "You all right, Brock?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "This is pretty cool. What are you doing here?" It's like, "Oh, I just want to help the people of El Salvador." I was like, "Oh, cool." So like, how long are you staying here in Zonte? He's like, "Oh, I'm not." I was like, "Oh, you're only here for the meal?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, so are you going to go and see any of the vendors?" He was like, "No." I was like, "Okay, so you're not going to go see the ATM?" He was like, "No." I was like, "So you're not going to spend any time with anyone in the local community and get to know what this project's about and what they're doing?" He's like, "No." And I was like, fuck off. Well, I didn't say it to him, but I was just thinking, fuck off, mate. You know, there's people who've been coming here for 2 years, and you come here with your fucking shitcoin delegation and claim that you're like this official thing. It was kind of gross, dude. It was just gross.
Well, like conversely, like me and CJ have a mutual friend, Colin, who went down post announcement, and he brought some cell phones that were preloaded with Bitcoin, and he brought toys for the kids, and was really trying to like help impact the locals' lives there. And I think that's more of the story I've heard from most real Bitcoiners who aren't there for self promotion purposes or whatever. Like there was like a real energy after the Miami conference that people just wanted to go down and like be a part of it and see how they could help and not anglicize the entire thing, but just actually like fit into the community down there in El Salvador and see how they could help make El Salvador, more prosperous using Bitcoin, which I thought was like obviously like fucking awesome. It's just crazy, man, that this is where we're at. We're at like geopolitical like phase 5 Bitcoin adoption. I was ruminating on it the other day, and I was just thinking, if you would have told me this in 2015, like I would have believed you, but like the fact that it happened 6 years later, like that's fucking insane. It's insane that this is where we're at,
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Go on, CJ.
I was gonna say it's funny that you bring up the anglicizing thing, because I think that's one of the deals that is sort of lost when you see the locals actually participating with Lightning Network and stuff, that they're looking to kind of self-sustain and invite people down as a tourist destination so that we spend money and kind of increase the economy. But if you see like a W hotel going in there, you know what I mean? Like that really doesn't do the same thing as having the people that actually live there, that are actually at the beach, like seeing it lift up from within, which is what I think all of us want, for the people of El Salvador. We want to see that kind of like come out of the ground and have it be a grassroots thing and not be like this, sort of like white people airdrop or here you go, people, That's, look, I'm really interested in that.
It's going to happen. Look, there's a bunch of people with Bitcoin who've got money who are going to think, do you know what? I can live here. It's no capital gains tax. It's cheap to live. I can buy a bit of land and build a property on the beach with a pool for, under $500,000, and it's an amazing lifestyle. That's going to happen. It's certainly going to happen. I just hope that the way the money comes in from these people, it helps raise everyone up, right? That's what I hope.
And well, more doing the thing our friend Colin did, and less doing the Brock Pierce thing where you come in fresh off your cocaine party in Miami, you fly down in your private jet, you look fancy at the meeting. What? I'm not. That's just a rumor. I don't know if that's true or not. It's not like I was there. I'm just saying.
God, you're gonna get me in trouble. Well, look, the thing is, like, you know what? Like, I've been, and I know a lot of other people have been, and every single person they reach out, they're like, where should I stay? How do I visit Bitcoin Beach? Like, what is there to do? Like, every single person I know has gone down there, spent time in the community, and got a feel for what it is. You can't go, by the way, this hotel's great. The guy who runs it's awesome, and he's a Bitcoiner. I'm not holding it against him. It's the only place that could host a night like that. But to just come down for your photo opportunity and I know I'm a hypocrite because I like photo opportunities, but to come down for your photo opportunity and then just put up on Twitter that we're the delegation, like it's a fake photo opportunity. And just to do that and not go and check out the project and make it all about you, it's just gross. It's just bollocks. Look, but the thing is, everyone saw right through it, right? Everyone did. And, he tried to defend himself. And it's just like, dude, read the room. Just read the comments. Like, just read the fucking comments. Everybody.
Defending yourself in this culture right now is extremely hard because it's so easy to pierce that that veil of kind of like, I would say fakeness or falseness or sort of
Authenticity.
false pretenses. Yeah, if you're not authentic, it's so easy to sniff that out, and it's been happening. I think the Bitcoiners are more and more incentivized than ever to call each other out, even obviously, and call other non-coiners out or whatever. The second that they step out of line, it's like that's not correct, and I think that's kind of essential. There's a lot of people that are sort of having this toxic backlash or backlash against toxicity, but it's sort of like
You can say Breedlove.
I'm not specifically getting into that. I think there's a better way to specify that. But I've seen a lot of people say that like, oh, the toxicity thing's bad because obviously HODL is a self-proclaimed toxic maximalist. But we talk about this a lot, king of the plebs. But it's like if you're seeking out fame as a part of this, that's not going to work. That's just that's the real thing that just isn't going to work in this type of movement because it is more about like the community than it is about one person. Bitcoin doesn't need anybody.
We should probably introduce our guest. Some people might not know who this.
I know, right? Like
is.
I was gonna say, like we have an actual famous person here, and we're talking about you for the first 10 minutes of the show. Like Jesus Christ, you really are a spook, man.
I know I'm a spook. Listen,
I just want to bring up that reference as many times as possible.
Racing car driver.
You just got to pound that narrative, don't you, Pierre? No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, I'm all right with it. Listen. Spook money's good.
Should I put a helmet on so it's like I'm more in the mode right there?
Well, listen, like I didn't know about the racing car thing. You might have told me in Miami, but I was drunk. But I knew you played American cricket, and I was quite interested in that.
Stickball. I was a really good stickball thrower back in the day.
Yeah.
Did you just call it American cricket? That's like
you call it fucking American football. You can kiss my ass.
Okay, no. It is football because there's one guy who kicks it, so that's football. All right, I don't make the rules. Think about it.
We had football before you came up with your weird rugby and called it football, American football. It's American cricket. Rugby. It's American cricket. It's less civilized. It's
absolutely
a little bit more,
less civilized. Absolutely less civilized.
You're actually the only people who have invented a game more boring than cricket.
Which is what, baseball?
Yeah.
What? Baseball is not more boring than cricket. Are you kidding me?
It definitely is.
They wear shin guards. They
crash into each other in baseball. You can like take people out. You can slide into them and knock them out. It's awesome. You can, it's pretty cool. You hit a home run and you flip the bat. Like that's to me pretty cool.
Well, that's just not very civilized. It just isn't.
As one of us is wearing a Yankee hat, which is a baseball team, and the rest of us are not wearing Yankee hats.
Well, my kids bought me this for Father's Day. I'm not even a Yankees fan. I guess I'm a Dodgers fan. Dude, like, I've been to like 9 baseball games, and I've seen one good thing, which was I went to a playoff game where I told you this. Justin Turner hit a walk-off home run in a playoff game. And that was wild. That was like 4 years ago against the Cubs, I think.
Probably 2017. Yeah.
No, I'm just ripping on you, man. I like baseball.
I mean, it's like you got to go with what's going on where you grow up. You can't really just you can't move somewhere else and say I just want to be a Formula One driver or something like that. You gotta. The kids are playing soccer or footy or whatever you guys call it. Then that's what you got to do.
What's it like? What is it like being like making it as a sports guy?
It's actually a lot slower process, than you think it is, because even if you get drafted and you get all this money right as a kid, you still have to go up the ladder. And so with baseball, there's 6 layers. You have to go through the minor leagues, and there's these different layers in the minor leagues. And every time you move up, you're like losing people. You're losing friends. They're getting fired. They're going back to work at Target in the off season. And you have to, kind of work your way up. But like I had a bunch of injuries and stuff growing up, so I never took it for granted. And I think that was what kept me a little bit more grounded. That being said, the longer it took me to make the money, the more ready I was to spend it. Like I was like such a car guy. I was like, as soon as I get money, I'm getting a cool car. And
my world.
That was always the motivator for me was to get a cool car. I didn't really care about a house so much because until you have like a wife and kids and stuff, you don't really need to settle down. So I actually had roommates until I was about 30 years old. But then I had a Carrera GT when I was 28. So imagine having like a Carrera GT supercar and then roommates. Just kind of a weird dichotomy there. Eating Del Taco.
Who is it? Aaron Rodgers had a roommate for like a long time, didn't he? And then there were all these rumors that he was gay because of it.
Yeah,
I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah, I think it's weird though that a lot of guys they spend their money and they get a crib and they get all this stuff and it's like this thing and it turns into this competition, and they make themselves targets, and I think that's a big thing, especially the NBA guys because they're so easy to pick out. They're 6'8", they don't look like anybody else in the room, and so when they walk into a restaurant in Beverly Hills, it's like, oh hey, that guy plays for the Lakers. But as a regular sized white guy, like 6'1", just strolling in somewhere, I could have kind of been anonymous. Didn't matter how much money I made or whatever, unless I was
CJ,
New York.
When did you get into Bitcoin? What year did you get into Bitcoin?
We can come back to that. Come on, don't be fucking.
No, I'm curious, man.
Fucking geek, and I just did sports stuff. You've got a proper Wikipedia page. That's how I know you're famous. Like people who are on the kind of cusp tend to have that one paragraph. But you've got a Wikipedia page with sections.
CJ was a fucking all-star, dude. He played in the league for 10 years. You know what I mean? He
most importantly than the all-stars or any of that other stuff is I had my own designed shoe and my own glove. So you could go to the store and get the CJ Wilson baseball glove. And that was
holy shit.
Badass.
You're straight edge.
Yeah.
Are you into like straight edge hardcore?
I used to be as a kid, but not so much anymore. I mean, I'm more
like Earth Crisis.
Absolutely, that was my walkout song when in like 2009 or something like that.
What Firestorm? Tell me it's Firestorm.
Firestorm, yeah.
Oh,
you can go on YouTube.
God.
You can see that. Yeah, you can go on. You can see that. Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
my god! Oh my god!
Yeah.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah. There's a YouTube me walking out to Earth Crisis. But a lot of my friends were musicians growing up, So like one of the guys that was like in my wedding party was Dave Havoc from AFI. And he's a straight edge guy. So I met like CM Punk, the wrestler guy, because he's straight edge, and H2O, they're straight edge. So I knew all those guys. So it's like a very kind of interesting community.
That's mad. I can't believe I didn't know.
That's why my Twitter handle is Straight Edge Racer, because I like racing and I'm straight edge.
It just didn't cross my mind. Dude. So I was totally into the straight edge hardcore, but I could not drink. I like drinking and drugs and smoking and sex, but I like straight edge hardcore.
You were a drug addict, though.
Yeah, but that was later in life. No, but this is as a kid, and
so that's why I was straight edge, because I saw like I had a couple family members have some serious alcohol problems, drug problems. One of my uncles actually I never got to meet him because he was like single car accident, DUI, death.
Oh shit.
So it was like for me, I was like I wanted to be the baseball player, get the Ferrari Testarossa. This is circa like 1989, 1990. I wanted the Testarossa like Don Johnson, and I knew I had to be a baseball player to do it because I wasn't going to be a doctor and cut people open. I'm just not into that shit. So that was it. And so I saw all these people making life mistakes, and I was like, well, I can't turn out like that. I need to kind of go past that. The straight edge thing I sort of found when I was maybe a teenager, but it was by the time I was like 12, then I was pretty much straight edge for life. I've got straight edge tattooed on my ribs right here.
I can't believe your walkout song was Firestorm. I was about 15 and I went to Slam City Skates in London. We used to get the CDs, and I was like, you got any hardcore? And this guy was like, oh, I've got this one track you got to hear. And he brings me out the EP of Firestorm. And I was like, what the fucking hell is this? Dude, really that song. Yeah. And do you know what? It's got that street by street, block by block. I'm like, block by block. Hard. That's a Bitcoin song.
Absolutely. I still listen to that when I work out.
Dude, I've got like a hardcore compilation on Spotify, and that's in there. I've got a bit of Snapcase. I bet you're into Snapcase.
Yep, Snapcase. Did you ever listen to Throwdown?
Yeah, of course, man.
Throwdown? Yeah, so I knew a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys were all in the Orange County kind of hardcore scene growing up. And
hold on, so you must have been into Ignite then?
Absolutely.
How did they get away with that? Because they're like, but they were like a hardcore band, but they weren't really a hardcore band.
They were. I mean, did you ever listen to Offspring's first album?
Yeah,
Ignition. So they kind of like went towards that. That was sort of more their thing. It was more of just sort of fast punk music as opposed to like hardcore. But so when I was a kid, I played guitar. I listened to Rage Against the Machine and like Metallica and all this other stuff. That's like I was super metalhead as a kid. So that's what I was always into.
I've got a kind of funny Ignite story. So my dad, when he was like 62, I got him tickets to go and see Bruce Springsteen at Arsenal Stadium. So we go to this concert and we're up in the seats and the acoustics in this new stadium isn't great. And also my dad's a smoker and I could just tell he wasn't enjoying it and he was smoking and wanted to have a cigarette. And I was looking at him going, "Are you enjoying this?" He's like, yeah. And I knew he was. I was like, "You're not, are you?" I was like, "Look, if you want, there's a punk," I called it punk, so we understood. I said, "There's this punk band playing over in Camden. Do you want to go and see it?" And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I know he only agreed because he wanted to have a cigarette. So anyway, we get down to Camden and we get to the venue and it's a bit like American Vacation. You know, when they go up and they turn up and Wally World's closed? It was like that. So I turned up, I was like, 2 tickets, they went sold out. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then there was like this big dude covering tattoos. I was like, "Are you part of the crew?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm the road manager." I was like, "Look, mate, do me a favor. It's my dad. He's 62. Last chance he'll ever get to see Ignite. He loves the band. Can we get in?" And he took us in. So my dad, they were like halfway through the set. So he got the second half of their set at Camden Underworld and he loved it.
That's wild.
You well out.
Ignite's great. I mean, I really like their music. I mean, just the way the music sounds is great. So, but yeah, I remember like the last really good fight I got in was like at a Killswitch Engage concert in like 2010 or something like that. 2011.
Who was singing?
Howard was still singing, I believe.
Hey, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Howard sing with them at Brixton. HODL's got no fucking idea what we're talking about.
Zero.
There'll be like 3 people listening will know what we're talking about.
I knew the CM Punk reference and Dave Havoc from AFI. That's it. That's like as far as I go into the scene.
Dude, you need to listen to Earth Crisis.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it out.
Super toxic. It'll get you super toxic.
Yeah. Firestorm will. Do you know, I never got to see them live. I've never got to see them live.
No, never saw them.
Oh, man. They did that final show.
In SoCal, it was really big. I mean, it was like a thing. And, kids used to like go to school with like X's on their hands and stuff like that. You know? I mean,
I remember that.
Early 90s, mid 90s. By the time I was a senior, I graduated high school in 98. So by that point, I think it wasn't as big of a deal. It wasn't like trendy anymore. And a lot of kids had already like sold out and done other stuff. But I was always into it. We had a kid like overdose in 7th grade. So I was like,
fuck,
that dude's not making the big leagues. He's going to die. So I was just like pretty logical about all this stuff. But for me, it was always about just giving myself the most chances to be successful. And I didn't see that path as any other alternative, really.
So one thing I didn't realize with baseball when I went, lucky I was with the guys explaining it all to me. I didn't realize like there's multiple pitchers and then you have to rotate because of the arm and they get tired and stuff like that. But there's usually the main guy and then kind of the backup guys. Are they also levels? You have to work through that, or once you got in the team, were you like the main guy straight away?
No, I mean, like when I first came up, I was a relief pitcher, so I would pitch like to get 1 or 2 guys out in the middle of the game. They were like, "Oh, this lefty." I'm a left-handed pitcher, so they'd be like, "Oh, this lefty, you got to go get him out." Specialize in that. But like my first batter that I ever faced was in Miami actually, and I came in to pitch, and there was a runner on second base, so 2 outs. I had this crazy long at bat with this guy named Jeff Conine. He gets a hit, and then the right fielder comes up, picks it up, and throws the guy out at home. So the guy got a hit, but nobody scored because they got the out at home, and that was the 3rd out of the inning. So that was it. So then I was like, okay, I guess I did good. I guess it's kind of weird, like a really auspicious debut. And then the next day, I pitched against this guy named Carlos Delgado, who had he'd hit 40 home runs, which is like kind of a big number for baseball, a bunch of years in a row with the Blue Jays. And he was actually like one of Puerto Rico's like most famous baseball players at the time. So then I ended up striking him out, and the next day, and that was kind of like for me like the real like I made it kind of thing, where I had the confidence that I knew I was going to be able to stick. And then I actually got sent back down to the minors and back up and forth like probably 6 times that first year, and that was emotionally a little bit difficult for a pretty volatile situation. I had some funky stuff going on. Health-wise or whatever. I had elbow surgery, so I didn't have like my nerves weren't working. I couldn't feel like these 2 fingers. So it's the reason why I retired is that's as much as I can bend my elbow.
Holy shit!
As opposed to this. And that's as straight as it goes. So if this makes sense, like I can't.
Yeah.
That's as straight as my arm goes.
Oh man,
see that difference? It looks weird with the fisheye camera, but yeah.
It makes me think of that guy in Moneyball where like he wanted that pitcher, even though his like arm was done because he could make base or something.
It was he wanted Juan Rincon for some reason.
Yeah.
Or Chad Bradford, this sidearm guy. Yeah.
So one more question, and I'll let HODL start grilling you on Bitcoin. Do you, if you're a pitcher, do you have to bat as well?
You only bat in the National League, but see, in college I was a center fielder, so I batted all the time. I wanted to bat more often, and our coaches were always like, "Oh, we got guys that do that, whatever." So like my first chance I got to bat was 10 years after college in spring training, and I hit a double in my second at bat, and I come in and I scored, and all the Dominican guys are like, "This is like, oh, it's that easy, huh? Okay," and it was really funny. But I was a good hitter in college, and I played with a lot of guys where I would play center field, they play left field or third base or whatever, and they made the major leagues, and they were like, "Dude, why don't they let you hit anymore?" And I'm like, I don't know. But I got a couple hits. My first hit in the majors in a real game was a triple. Actually, I hit a triple in Houston. That's also on YouTube. You can check that out. That's probably a career highlight of mine. Because my buddy told me if I hit a home run that game, he was going to streak naked onto the field. So I was like, oh, fuck, I need to really try to hit a home run. Because he actually has a tattoo on his butt that says "fuck yeah," like one on each cheek, and so that would have just been the most epic, Getty Images photo of this dude with his butt sticking out, and then a security guard tackling him. That would have been a great baseball card for the second baseman going streaker running by. So that is probably my favorite part of baseball is when someone tries to run onto the field and the security guards just obliterate them. It's great.
So I've searched for you on YouTube. I've got CJ Wilson Baseball Earth Crisis. It's got a turf monster. It's got a bit of you racing. And then I've got 10 actors who turned into monsters and unusual people who took plastic surgery too far.
Yeah, that's definitely not me. If you go, let's see. CJ Wilson. If you go CJ Wilson hits triple, then that's there. There's that there.
I want the Earth Crisis one.
You might have to type walkout to get his walkout music,
If CJ Wilson enters the game for Texas, and I think they might have something for that. But I used Iron Man was the song one time. I did Smashing Pumpkins 0 because it's as a pitcher you're trying to put up a 0. I also tried reverse psychology where I came into the game and I played a song called Chromeo, or by a group called Chromeo. It's like an Israeli guy and a Palestinian guy that are like a funk duo from Montreal, and to try to get everybody happy because it's so fucking hot in Texas, dude. In 2009, I was just making stuff up, but I actually helped the team a lot with different marketing ideas. We did a Reno 911 spoof actually one year as well.
I miss that show so much.
Who's Ron Washington?
Ron Washington was my manager who got busted for doing cocaine. And so him and I did not see eye to eye.
Was he with Brock Pierce?
No. So he had a spring training meeting, right? This is amazing. So in spring training, there's 80 players on the team before they start making cuts. And he walks out of the office, and Nolan Ryan's with him. I think I told you the story in Miami. I'm not sure if I did or not. But so Nolan Ryan is this legend. He's the one of the top pitchers of all time, and he worked for the team at the time. And so they walk out of the office. Ron goes, "Well, men, I'm here to tell you. Sometimes you don't make mistakes. I know some of y'all ain't perfect. I'm here to tell you, I ain't perfect either. I had a low point last year, and I did some cocaine." We're all like, what did he just say? We're dude, this guy's 60 years old doing blow. What is going on?
That heart's going to not last long.
That's when you should do it.
Yeah. So then, exactly. So we're like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. Last year in the 7th inning against the White Sox, he did this thing, and he must have been high. There's no way he would have done that logically. So him and I didn't get along when I was a relief pitcher because I felt like he was constantly mismanaging me. So the highlight thing that's on YouTube is I had blown out my elbow. My elbow is completely non-functioning, and they made me pitch anyways. And I was like, fuck you guys, this is stupid. I should be on the disabled list. I literally can't bend my arm. And because I would get this taken out, they would take bone chips and bone spurs out of my arm every couple of days. And so I've had 5 arm surgeries. So I knew that I needed that. And they were like, oh no, tough it out. I was like, fuck you guys. So they put me in the game. I pitched like shit. I did hit A-Rod though for you, HODL. I hit him. And then he comes out to get me. I'm like, was that the result you look for? And I flipped him the ball, and he was like, no, you got to give me the ball like a man. And I'm like, yeah, well, fucking whatever, dude. So after after that, I was like, I need to be a starting pitcher because I can't be subjected to this guy because he doesn't know how to manage a team. And just like a bad relationship, people tend to go with the opposite of what they just had. So we had a super smart kind of Napoleon complex guy, Buck Showalter, who was like a strategy guy. And then they were like, wait, we fired him. Let's get Ron Washington, like Mr. Rah-Rah, that's never managed ever. Never been an actual manager, just been a coach, like to tell people to like take ground balls. I mean, he's from Moneyball. He's the guy that's like, it's going to be the hardest thing you ever did, Scott. We're going to get you to play first base. That's Ron Washington. But in real life, he would say stuff like he'd play dominoes before the game with like Gary Pettis, the first base coach, and he'd be like, y'all can't beat me. I'm the motherfucking dominologist. And we're like, all right, okay.
The dominologist.
Yeah, he would say shit like that. And we were like, okay, how? So we would get together. We were like, we have to be winning by 5 runs by the 5th inning because otherwise Simple Ron is going to blow it. Like we would call him Simple Ron. So,
fuck you, Ron.
Yeah.
Dude, CJ is so good at impressions, by the way. Before the end of the show, we have to get him to do Bitcoin Tina, and we have to get him to do NVK because he has a great one of both of those guys.
Well, I've got 4 listed here. I've got NVK, Bill Clinton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Peter McCormack.
I said I might be able to do you by the end of the show, but I didn't say I've had it dialed.
I want to hear NVK. Definitely want to hear NVK.
Oh, the NVK one is so good.
It only works if I'm actually holding a cold card or something. So let me see if I have something on me.
You got to channel him. Here, I'll ask you some questions and you can respond as NVK. Yeah.
So you can't see this on Clubhouse, but I gotta take it in. Give me a chance to take it in. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite kinds of cuts of meat? I know you're a carnivore. So what are your favorite cuts that you like, NVK?
Okay, HODL. The thing is about the meats, you have to have like you have to cut it right. Okay, so like a picanha, if you cut it one way, you could if you spear it like at Fogo de Chão, that's cool. But like if you cut it like a steak, you got to go across the grain. But the cold card that has the $5 wrench attack, but now the $5 wrench because of CPI being fucking bullshit is more like $7 wrench attack. But just like use your fucking judgment, man. Like if like ribeyes look good and they don't look gross, like get the ribeyes. Especially for cooking outdoors, it's the ribeye.
It's so good.
Do you know what we should do? We should just like record him saying that Trezor is actually better than Cold Card and Cold Card's got security
my god,
flaws.
no, I can't do that because I used a Cold Card. No, I can't do that.
Dude, CJ has done this on Clubhouse, and people have come in the room thinking NVK was speaking. It's so funny.
No, the best part is when him and I were actually on the board, like together next to each other, and him and I were both talking with his voice, and people are like, "Who said that? Who was it?"
And
so he calls me NVK. He calls me NVK Cash as a joke.
That's so good.
Which I love. But I was actually on the phone with Tina the other day, or like whatever. We were talking about inflation and stuff like that, and it was just a private Clubhouse room because it was some sort of Twitter exchange, and he's like, "Hey, let's get in Clubhouse together." So then my wife like walks in, and she's like, "Wait, I've heard you doing this guy's voice before. Like, what the hell? He's a real person. It's a real person, So, but it's great. It's totally great until it's not great.
What's hello? This is guys.
Oh my god.
Come here. No,
who's that?
No,
is it Peter's kid?
This is Scarlett. Say hello.
Hi, Scarlett.
Say hello.
Hi.
This guy plays American cricket.
Who?
CJ Wilson. He's a famous sports star.
That's how you throw in cricket, HODL. You gotta like.
Yeah, you got to do that weird overhand thing. Yeah,
but you can't straighten your arm. So once you get here, you have to straighten your arm and throw it. But I can't straighten my arm, so it's really hard.
We went to see the Angels play.
Hey, when? What year?
Hold on, Angels. Where are they based? Are they in Arizona?
Well, it's for spring training, but the Angels are in Anaheim, so by Disney.
Yeah. No, we've been to Anaheim. Wait, how old are you? It was like, I want to say 8 years ago, 7 years. No,
I was on the team
6 or 7 years ago. I'll dig it out. We were there.
I was on the team from 2012 until 2016.
Oh no, we were definitely there when you were playing because we got like big foam fingers and the blue ones, didn't we? And we were like, yeah, no, we were definitely there. So I probably saw you play.
There you go. Yeah,
South
I was
of
the
LA,
one
right?
Yeah, I was the one in the stretchy pants, you know, whatever.
Probably saw you play. All right, come on. I need to hear the Tina thing.
Oh my god,
The Tina thing I need a prompt though. Like one day he lit up Phil. Like
I got it. I'll call you in.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. What am I going to do it with? So I just can't get into the Bitcoin thing because Bitcoin Cash is to me is still the real Bitcoin because
Bitcoin Cash is a shit coin. All right, I'm not even gonna let you finish on this one. It's not even important that you finish. Your thought means nothing. Okay, if you haven't heard Ross Stevens or if you haven't read Parker Lewis, gradually then suddenly, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, frankly, and you're just gonna ruin it for everybody. The more people you talk to, the worse it's gonna get.
That was solid.
Do you know the key is the interruption? The key is interrupting people.
You have to interrupt, and you have to say, excuse me.
I let you talk. Now you let me talk.
I'm talking. Yeah.
Do you know what you should do? You should do an argument between Tina and NVK.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, I could do that. I've done that. So I do a car podcast called Throttle Dogs, and so I actually play characters on that. And I have done that, but it's very hard with the video. Like if I'm going to be like, like it just, you have to be in a very weird mind state to get into that point. But I've tried it. It's very hard.
Can you do me? Because HODL does one of me, and it's fucking terrible.
Terrible.
It's like a standard British accent.
I just go, excuse me, CIA. It's me, Peter McCormack.
Yeah, that's terrible.
From Bedford. I can do an impression of you doing an impression of me.
I can do an impression of you doing an impression of me.
Hello, Governor. I'm Peter McCormack. I'm from England. I'm from Bedford, and I'm a spook. That's me,
literally Peter McCormack, just calling the CIA for my weekly debriefing. That's how you sound.
So okay, give me something to say, and I can repeat it. How about that? Do you say I went to El Salvador?
No, do.
Do.
No, because you can do the intro for the show, and I'll use it. Go. Hello from Bedford, the Bitcoin capital of the world. My name's Peter McCormack. Welcome to the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
Hello from Bedford, the Bitcoin capital of the world. This is Peter McCormack, and welcome to the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
It's no Tina.
Decent. We need work.
Decent.
We need work.
My first attempt.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there by the end of the pod. I feel confident.
Yeah.
What are your other ones? What other ones do you do?
Let's do Bill Clinton. Explain. Hey, excuse me.
George Bush. My George Bush is better, by the way. But
your Bush is better.
All right. So
senior or junior?
Junior. Bitcoins. It's like a money, but digital, and it's a combination of fractional technologies and amazing mathematics. And if you mathematicize your fantasies, you can put it together and help the whole world. Bitcoin. I love it. George Bush.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again.
Well, the funny thing is, like, so I've got a photo. I'll find this for you of me in the White House with a mohawk with George Bush.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have it. I'll find it. I'll find it. I've got it somewhere because
amazing.
He used to be an owner of the Rangers before he became.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was part owner. That's right.
Yeah, so he was always been a Rangers fan.
Yeah.
So we went to the White House and because we played the Nationals in DC and they invited us, so we went to go see them. And we were like a bad team. It's not like we were good. Like we didn't win the World Series or something like that. But we all got like one 30-second, 60-second kind of block with him. And he's like 5'9", 5'10", a little bit shorter than I'm 6'1". But with a mohawk, obviously, like he's like this. He's like, wow, where are you from, son? I'm like, California. He goes, wow, sure does look like it. Hey, let's take a picture. I'll literally never forget that.
Did you take a shit in the White House?
So good.
Did you take a shit in the White House?
I did not. I probably got a chance to let one loose in a hallway, but I don't think I actually. I didn't make any deposits.
You know what? That would be my move. You reach the Oval and then you go, I need to take a shit, and then you just see where you're escorted to. It's got to be the presidential bathroom, right?
Dude, I would eat all the way up. I'd be packing it in, ready for it.
Yeah, because you got to make it real. Because if you lie, Secret Service is going to catch you on that, and that's probably a felony. Think about it.
Yeah, you're
gotta
on
be a
government
real-
property at that point. You
Got to
gotta
be a
careful.
real shit. Yeah, it's got to be a real shit.
Government property is
that would
my
be-
property.
That'd be a cool place to play, though, as a team, to play in DC, because in the summertime, Washington, D.C. is like really beautiful. And there's all these like spies running around. All of Peter's friends are, jogging around in their Yale t-shirts or whatever the hell they got to try to look like. I mean, like literally you go for a walk in what they call like the gallery or whatever it is, where all the buildings are. And it's like a Jason Bourne movie. You see all these like super clean cut, like Navy looking people like jogging. And I'm like, that guy's a fucking spy. That guy's
It's
a
not
spy.
jogging though. What thing
Jog
is, if you want
on,
to be
mate.
if you want to be a spook, you have to be able to master that run, which is a slow motion fast run, because
Yeah,
you see
it's like
people
just
jogging.
7.25 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's how you run as a spook.
It's true.
It's not a jog.
Knees up. You got to get the knees up.
Yeah.
Get the
Like,
knees up.
and you've just got to remember, you're always running next to a car and feel like you're running next to a car. That's how you do it. Problem with DC as a player is one of the things no, I'm not going to talk about this. What the fuck am I on about? Anyway.
Oh wait, that's spook stuff. That's spook
Yeah,
stuff.
well, we got way too close to
Wait.
home on that
Yeah,
one.
What were you about to say? Was it something spook related?
I got a tap on the shoulder. I'll talk about it later.
Got it.
Wait, what? You
You
did?
get the text. You
Yeah.
get the text message.
Yeah.
You get the
Got the
you
text.
get the red alert.
beep.
The red
Beep
alert.
beep. You got too
From
close.
who? From who?
From
You got to say it now because the plebs are gonna have a field day with the fact that you just said what you just said.
good. I'm going to leave it like that.
Okay, Peter, I got a question for you because you're such a big
Yep.
cricket fan. One of the big scandals right now in baseball is that the guys are getting in trouble for doctoring the ball, for using like artificial grip surfaces and stuff. So is there
seen
anything like that? Is there anything like that in other sports? I mean, do people have like a sticky boot in soccer so they can bend it better on corner kicks?
No, none of that shit in football. But in cricket, it's a problem in cricket. So, and there's two things they do, because when they're bowling, I don't know if you've seen in cricket, but they always like shine one side of the ball. They rub it on
because
their
you can make
whites.
it. You can make it.
Yeah,
kind of
you can make it
swing one way.
swing. So what they do, there's a couple of things they might do. Sometimes they leave a sweet wrapper, like a toffee sweet wrapper in their pocket, rub it on one side to make one side sticky. Or people have been caught with like sandpaper in their kind of like belt line, and they're just rubbing it on there to rough it up. But the fucking idiots, they always get caught. They always get caught. And I'm always like, in my head though, I'm always like, you're fucking cheating. Like, how shit is it to be caught cheating? Like, you fucking lowlife. You're well paid. You're a sports star, and you're fucking cheating. I've got no time for it. Honestly, it pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that it's been so permissible because they put rosin on the mound for pitchers. So when you're sweaty, you have like this like ability to kind of grip the ball a little bit sweaty. But if you're too sweaty because you're like profusely drenched in sweat, like it's Texas, it's 110 degrees outside, then you literally have to do what I did, which is like I used to put rosin on my entire uniform. So just to have hopefully one dry spot. That's also why I wore a loose jersey most of the time, so I could like have a dry spot to dry my hands off, because there's no towel out there. So if your hands are slippery, then you could hit somebody in the face, which happened a couple times, sadly for those guys. But the thing is now they made like this new scientific shit that's like ceramic, and you could like spin the ball crazy off your fingers, and they can hear it where it goes like coming off guys' hands now, which is like way too far, obviously. Yeah.
Hold on, have you seen this thing up here, by the way?
No, what the fuck is that? I can't tell.
It's a shrunken head.
See if it'll work on the camera.
Is it, it's my Employee of the Month badge.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the debate I had with Dieter Bob? Who, by the way, he says hi. He hopes you get nut cancer.
Is that the one where on Spaces and I came in afterwards and then Stoney was
that's right. You were
unintelligible
a part of that,
bullshit.
Oh yeah. I forgot you were a part of that shit.
He's like what's that thing that goes?
Animal.
It's like
Animal from
Chewy.
Muppet
No,
Babies.
he's like Chewy. Like, fucking unintelligible bullshit. No, I mean, the thing about Dieter is, I mean, I don't really want to talk about these people all the time, but the thing about him is he just makes stuff up, puts it out there, and sees what happens.
I mean, hey, it's an effective strategy. You just start making up stuff about people and see what sticks. It's like something's gonna stick,
Yeah, fuck those guys. Well, we should talk about Bitcoin a bit. Go on, hold on. I interrupted you about 30 minutes ago.
No, it's all
Ask
good.
you- ask
No,
about
I was
Bitcoin
just.
questions.
You know what's interesting? So me and CJ are, clubhouse buddies, and we were hanging out in Miami and shit. And one of the things I thought was really interesting about CJ is like he just always has been a super low time preference individual. Like when he was, 12 years old, he'll tell you the story, but he was visualizing, Major League Baseball success. And then he manifested that for himself, manifested his whole fucking life. And I think it's interesting that kind of person, post career, when you have this mountain of money, because CJ obviously earned a lot of money, is you can Google his net worth or whatever. He did well while he's playing. You got a melting ice cube, just like Sailor talks about, and you got to figure out how to protect that. And I think it's very interesting that kind of individual, and not only just CJ, but a lot of guys, like I talked to Sean Culkin down in Miami, or Russell Okung, or all these guys have figured out like Bitcoin is the best way to protect my wealth and to ensure future prosperity for myself and my family. And I think it's really interesting, the connection between pro sports and Bitcoin, whereas there's not as much of a connection between, like, let's say, entertainment and Bitcoin. I think it's the sports guys, a little more realistic, a little more motivated, a little more low time preference. They're used to doing hard things. They don't mind volatility. Like CJ was talking about, volatility from the minors to the majors, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think just like exploring the psychological connection there is like really interesting to me.
We'll do that. Well, CJ, is your net worth page accurate?
Probably not, because I did get ripped off a couple times by employees. I had to sue a guy, some stuff. So I wouldn't say it's totally accurate, but I know what I made playing baseball, and if that shows what my salary earnings were, that's true. But that's also before taxes.
So I've got my first net worth page. Someone created a net worth page for me.
What do they think you're worth?
Firstly, they've got a picture of me at the top. I think
in a Metallica shirt, or not a Metallica shirt?
No, on a motorbike in El Salvador. And it says, the mild-mannered British investor has thoroughly experienced the wild high. There's got a picture of me with a car. Then it says I claim my net worth was 150 grand.
Sounds right. Sounds right.
Long in history. And then, hold on.
I hope your net worth's not 150 grand, because your car cost 150 grand. So I hope you have a little more than that.
So they haven't given me a net worth on here. So at the time, they've updated it. At the time, they had 5 million, which it definitely wasn't that. But they listed a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't even me, like all these shares I owned in companies. So they obviously confused me with somebody else. Oh, that's a shame. That was quite funny.
Well, didn't you say you had 5 million at the top in 2017 before you fucked it all up?
No, it was like 1.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never Googled what my net worth is, because I know what my net worth is. So
it says 35. You don't need to Google it. It says 35 million here, but either what's 5 or 10 million between friends? Who cares?
That's probably somewhat accurate, realistically, just because of the value of the business that I own now, being up there. Not because I have that much.
CJ owns a Porsche. He owns a Porsche dealership.
Nice.
Yeah, Porsche, Audi, BMW. But HODL, back to your thing, like, if you don't experience pain, you don't know what the real world is. And athletes experience pain, whereas I think entertainers, they don't. They experience like depression or something that's not really like tangible. They experience emotional down days, but they don't necessarily have like a broken back or a torn elbow or something like that. They don't like break a leg. It doesn't really happen in Hollywood, right? So these people that are kind of campaigning for people to like them on TikTok or watch their TV shows or buy their albums, they don't really have the same type of, I would say, stakes as a football player that could blow his knee out and not walk right the rest of his life, or a baseball player that gets hit in the head with a line drive. So for me, the reality checks there have always kept me very grounded in regards to, it doesn't matter what I do today, tomorrow I have to wake up and go back to work. If you pitch a perfect game, you got to go get ready to pitch in 5 more days. So your season's not over just because you had one amazing game. And I think that's the thing where a lot of people, especially in the entertainment industry, they're like, oh yeah, but I was in this one movie. And it's like, yo, that was 10 fucking years ago. Like, nobody cares anymore. Like, it's great that you were in this movie, but like, make another one. You know what I mean? Write a better song. Come on. But I think that's the reason why baseball players or football players or any athlete really sees that, because they know at some point they lose their skill. They lose the ability to do that. So they want to keep that lifestyle greedily. We always want to have a cool lifestyle, drive a Lambo, whatever, go on safari trips, and go see lions and stuff, as a motivating factor, and take care of your family and stuff like that. But for me, it was like I was always very skeptical of government intervention in terms of the finance world. So like in 2008, 2009, I was a super gold bug. That was like really my first like foray into skepticism on the finance side. And so I was trading gold and buying gold, buying pounds and buying euros. And so I've always been playing like the macro game as an investor. But I didn't really like, I heard about Bitcoin, but it was really more in association with like the Silk Road aspect of things. And so for me as a straight edge guy, right now that we're talking about that, I was like, I can't do this like drug money shit. I can't get involved in that. It's like too weird, So it was like the FUD that FUD hit me hard. And I didn't have any Bitcoin buddies at the time that kind of, talked me out of it. So I was like looking at it, but I was like, eh. So that's like 2014. So 2017, it goes up and I'm like, this is not going to end well. It crashes. I was like, ha ha. And then it didn't go to zero. So I was very interested at that point because I was like, how is it that it could drop from 20,000 to 3,000 and people still want to buy it? Like, what is it about Bitcoin that's so special? And then I started doing some more independent research. And then I was like, okay, I need to get into this. And this is actually a good opportunity right now because it's way far down from where it should be. And if you look at the bottom of the chart, as a long-term hodler, you look at the bottom of the chart and see what it's done and what the lows are every year. And it's a higher low every year. And that to me was more attractive because then it's like, I don't even have to work at this because I have all these other things to do. I have to run a business. I can't sit there and day trade all day. Although I did last year, but that was kind of stupid. But,
dude, what's the 992 like to drive?
A 992S has the same approximate mechanical grip level as a 2016 GT3 RS because the tire profile and the width and the steering. So it's actually like, I was blown away because when we first drove it, it was on the track and the mechanical grip and how the rear steering works now and stuff like that is just, it's as good as the RS cars used to be. So
have you had a 4S then? A 9924? Have they done a 4S? Yeah, they have, haven't they?
Yeah, 4S, Turbo S. The GT3s are coming out now in Europe. They're about to come out like maybe 2 or 3. They're going to come out around Halloween in America. So that's like our strongest thing right now is we have people just like throwing money at us. Like, please take my deposit. I want a 992 GT3.
Is there a GT2? Because I always like in the 991, I prefer the GT2.
The GT2 was one of the most psycho cars that Porsche's ever made. It was unbelievable. We sold about 8 of those through the dealership, which is pretty lucrative for us. And
they're one of those few cars that goes up in price.
Dude, I used to love the GT2 so much, man. I used to like go.
The wing. It's the big wing,
Yeah, the big wing is sick.
But it's the one they did where it was the grey with the kind of like dark grey bonnet. Or did it have the 2
carbon
stripes
bonnet?
on it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the GT2 is like it's rear wheel drive. It's like holding a loaded gun. It's definitely a tool, but you have to know how to use it. Otherwise, you could end up losing a foot.
My Aston's rear wheel drive, and that's because I had the 996 4S, and I fucking loved it. But it just became a bit like beautiful car, but like you kind of you want modern things in your car. So
and the interior of the 996 sucks, realistically.
Yeah,
the outside's great. The outside, the rear taillights that go all the way across, it's we've actually bought and sold a couple of those. I play a lot. I speculate in the car market in that regards where, I try to find like, cars that are underappreciated for what they really have in them. And so like the Audi RS4 from 07, 08, the BMW M3 from like 08 to 2013. I've been buying a lot of those, while they were down and then riding the wave back up. So
I was so close on a 992, like so close.
Yeah, it's just, I think it comes down to like, if you can spec the car out the way you want it, then it really changes the equation. Because if you say like, I want to get this special color that I haven't seen, then you kind of have to get a new car, because you can't really repaint a used car. That devalues the whole thing. So we just got a purple one in yesterday. We got a purple C4S in with a stick shift that the guy wanted. I like weird colors, so that's what I'm really into. I have a whole rack of like helmets and stuff back here, and I'll grab the one on the bottom. But I had a McLaren P1 at one point, and
nice.
This is one of the things that like biggest regret. In 2014, I bought a McLaren P1. If I would have spent a tenth of the money on the P1 on Bitcoin, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the hardest thing because I was spending money at the time. It wasn't like I didn't have it; like I had it, and I was just doing stupid shit with it. YOLO, But
That sounds
People
like
always
Peter.
say that shit though. Yeah.
Let me grab this. I gotta grab this. This is actually kind of a good
Yeah,
story.
show me. People always say that shit, Hoddle.
I like how you guys are talking about super expensive cars, and I literally don't have a car at the moment. I drive my wife's minivan around.
So see how this color changes, Peter?
Oh, nice. Yeah,
So my car was this color.
nice. That's a proper
so they
boy
pick-
racer color.
Yeah. This is so they made this custom for me. In the sunlight, it turns orange. You can't really see it here, but it's pretty wild.
What
It's a
cars
full-on
did you
range.
race? What cars did you race?
I've raced. Let's see, everything from Spec Miatas to Formula 3, LMP3 cars, GT3 Cups, GT4, Porsche, Audi TCR. I got to drive the Porsche 919 Hybrid, the Le Mans car. It was me and Patrick Dempsey and Michael Fassbender, and they let us drive it at this track in Spain. It was literally the best day of my life behind the wheel.
Wow.
I've had a very charmed life in terms of experiences, which is why I can totally be a pleb now, because I'm like, I've done everything. I just want to like go to work and stack Bitcoin. Kind of done chasing experiences. I can't do any better than I've done. I flew an F-16. I drove the LMP1 hybrid Porsche car, and so I'm just like, all right, well, let me drink some root beer and some espresso and stack sats all day. That's really all that matters.
That's a charmed life. I fucking loved the Indy 500. That was wild.
Yeah. Well, I want to get all
right?
the. I want to get a hold of Jack because
Yeah.
the next thing that that Bitcoin needs to get involved in is the Dakar Rally. So that's a 14-day desert rally, which lots of ups and downs, lots of sand, lots of not giving a shit, and lots of just going for it. And
are you going to race it?
Well, one of my buddies runs a team, and he was like, "Hey man, do you know anybody who wants to sponsor our Dakar team?" And I was like, "Depends on how much it is." And he told me the number, and I was like, "I need to talk to Jack." I texted HODL. I texted you. Wherever.
How big's the number?
I'm supposed to get you in touch with Jack. I forgot about that.
How big's the number?
Sorry.
Cheaper than IndyCar.
Yeah, like let's just say it'll be a tenth of what they spent on Indy.
Well, the Indy thing was flexible though. It's like, how much can we raise ideally? So just
Okay,
what's the number?
so
We're talking like
I'm telling
300
you,
grand.
it'll be less.
How much?
Less.
250,
Lots
two?
less. Way less.
100?
Less, but I can't talk about it. It's just
Less than 100.
I don't want to talk about it, but I
can do it. I can do it with all the money I've won off HODL.
I'm gonna win that bet at the end of the year.
What's the bet? What's the bet?
win.
HODL already lost a bet to Jimmy a couple months ago. So
I've lost a bet to I lost a bet to Peter too on the election. I bet Trump and Peter bet Biden. I lost a half a coin, and I'm gonna win that half a coin back at the end of the year when the Bitcoin price is over 300K by Christmas. Let's fucking go!
Wow, that's
you want to double? You want to double it?
This is what Bitcoin. This is what Bitcoin does. No, I don't want to fucking double it. Half of Bitcoin's enough.
Turns you into degenerate gamblers? Is that what you're saying?
I'll double it. I'll double it now.
Yeah, of course you'll double it because we're at 30K. I feel very confident though in the original.
Double it.
I'm not doubling. I'm not doubling it though. No.
Are you hedging? Are you hedging this or what? What's the deal?
No, I'm not hedging it.
I'm not hedging.
I
thought about it. Someone asked me to.
Hedging is for pussies. Yeah, I'm not hedging.
Yeah.
So, Peter, let me ask you this though: as a citizen of the world, someone that travels a lot, how do you kind of, when you talk to new people, how do you explain that how Bitcoin's helped you in terms of like being a tourist or a traveler or whatever? Because you get to go to all these places. I mean, do you see that like Bitcoin kind of normalizing the world? Because we talk about all the time about how it's going to be the world economy.
Do you know what? It doesn't help me at all, apart from when I go to El Zonte, because I know other people are using it. I know other people are kind of Bitcoin only, and when they get to a place, they're trying to find someone to sell some Bitcoin to, or maybe even an ATM. There's one prominent Bitcoiner when I was in Chile. He was like, "Do you want to buy some Bitcoin from me?" Because he just travels on his Bitcoin. But I don't do that. Because ideally I don't really want to be traveling with Bitcoin, because situations that I don't want to be in. So all I've ever tend to have is a small amount on a phone wallet. But going to El Zonte, the interesting thing there in El Salvador is that the project is so small and the town is so small, it just works. They haven't got a cash machine apart from a Bitcoin ATM. And when I got there, the first kind of day, I didn't even need any dollars. Because I was coming straight in from, where was I coming in from?
Miami.
No,
right?
no. It was before there. The first time. Anyway, but most places where you want to get a coffee or whatever, you can. They've all got Lightning wallets on their phones. You can just pay in Bitcoin, and you know what? Like it's $5 here, $2 there, so it doesn't matter. And then the second time I went back, I did need some dollars, so I went and used the ATM for the first time, which was an interesting experience. But that's it. That's if that project expands to the point where this is happening in places all around the world, then all it means is that I just don't even have to worry about cash. And I've got this fucking thing here. Let me show you this thing. You talk, can't you?
Yes, HODL, this is one of those things that we talk about a lot, which is like, at what point do you start holding more Bitcoin on you so you can actually transact, right? Whether it's as a hot wallet.
Yeah, true. As as a general rule, like you should only ever have, I don't know, maybe like $1,000. Like whatever you're comfortable keeping in cash in a real wallet, that's what you should have on your phone, and then everything else should be cold storage, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I tell people is like, it's an
Yeah.
uncomfortable amount, which there's a threshold of discomfort where you're like, this is too much money to have to have in one place. But
because did I tell you what happened to me in Miami?
no,
Somebody came up to me and a couple other Bitcoiners while we were at the bar and cloned my fucking phone. So, and it was
you had a burner phone too, though, right?
Well, here's the thing. I had a burner phone, but I was only using it at the conference and when I was at Bitcoin specific events. And then, of course, the one time I fucking slip up, I was just at the bar with a couple of guys. I won't say who, just because I want to protect their security. But I thought it was just a safe location. One of the guys I was with had been tailed in by a Chinese national who had a very suspicious suitcase with him. I get back home. My accounts start getting hacked. Luckily, like my security is pretty good, so no major problems. But it was a fucking bitch and a half, honestly. So yeah, you don't want to keep it. Well, they use this device called the Stingray to perpetuate a man-in-the-middle attack on you. I think anyway, that's what happened to me. But yeah, there were a lot of events like that happening down in Miami.
So this is because of all the travel. This is a box I've got, and it's like full of all different fucking foreign currencies. Because when you're done, you've always got some dollars left over or whatever. I've got Norwegian money.
It's like
money.
dust at this point. You've got little tiny amounts that you can't really convert. Right?
Yeah, Barbados dollars, Hong Kong. Honestly, I've got all kinds of fucking shit in here.
Can't you just take that shit to a bank and they'll convert it for you?
I mean, probably, but like some of them, it's like I don't know what the fuck is this? 1,000 dong, 1,000 Vietnamese dong. It's probably like 20.
Yeah,
20 cents
certain parts of the country, 1,000 dong would be pretty popular.
Yeah.
Fuck off. What have I got here? Hong Kong.
You can just take this shit to a bank, bro. They'll cash it for you.
What I'm saying is most of it's just not worth anything. And also sometimes I go back, like, I've got some dollars at the moment. I go back and I'm like, I'm going to America if I got any dollars.
Well, yeah.
The point being is,
but the dollars like accepted everywhere. I mean,
but the point being is that the more you go to places that got Bitcoin, you just don't even think about it. And and the way
it makes a lot of fucking sense for the world to have one currency, does it not? Yeah. I mean, it makes just the same amount of sense as the world to be on one language. But the one language thing will never fucking happen because of cultural, heritage and all sorts of shit. But one money, like we can do one money, and communication would be just so much more seamless. You basically get globalism minus debt slavery. Like there's so many intangible benefits to us all being on the same currency.
But how many countries do we really need? How many countries do we really need before it is one money? That's the question. I mean, obviously we've got a couple in the oven right now, potentially, right? Panama, Paraguay, some of these other ones. I really hope Panama goes for it because Panama would be like the Switzerland of Latin America at that point. This is sort of my thing because so much business runs through the Panama Canal.
Yeah,
super industrialized, huge airport. Like good population size, and it's literally the bridge between North South America and Pacific and Atlantic. I think that could be like a massive hub for a lot of people.
But if you have El Salvador, Panama, and Paraguay, you've got a movement, and everyone else is going to be like,
Costa Rica has to do it. Costa Rica has to do it at that point, right? And then you have this whole like surfing tourism between El Zante and Costa Rica, and then like Panama. Like you could do like this whole Bitcoin surf tour. You know what I mean? That would be
The
sick.
the problem for us as Americans is if you want to go down to one of these Bitcoin friendly regions, America still wants to take a hefty bite out of your ass. So even if you plan to move there, you got basically a 50% exit tax. I don't know what it's like in England, but for us, that's a real concern. Or you could try and say I'm gonna do some shell game stuff in the Caribbean or whatever. But like honestly, that seems dangerous, and they will come after you, like no matter where you are. So Americans are kind of stuck. We need to like stay here and shift things from the inside rather than exiting, I think.
Yeah, I think that there's the question is who's next in Congress to go for the laser eyes. We've got Lummis, Warren Davidson. We've got some other people that are very like focused on it, and I would say open to it. But
It's
if
not
we don't,
Maxine Waters, I'll tell you that
no,
much.
no, no, no. But we can elect Bitcoiners though. That's the thing. Like if we're willing
Yes.
to elect Bitcoiners and take it on as a a single issue vote, then the American system has a lot more turnover than a lot of these other countries because you don't have a dictator that's going to stay there for 10, 20 years. You've got people that you can vote out after 4 years. So we're talking about this a lot at like Telegram groups and stuff. Is what can we do to potentially like talk to people that are involved in the legislative branch to see like what there is that they need to see. It's like with Bitcoin ETFs or whatever, that there's these sectors that are very exposed because they want to get reelected. And if we go to them and say, hey, listen, you might get 2 or 3 million voters if you pick this up, like that's a big deal for a governor or something, which is why like Suarez is doing such an open campaign in Miami about that, right? He's looking to attract Bitcoin voters that are then going to keep voting him in as mayor. I mean, that's got to be the play, psychologically.
Yep.
Can we talk about Breedlove?
Yeah,
You
let's
want
do it.
to?
Yeah, I do because
I read the whole thing. I read the whole thing he wrote. So
I didn't read it. I'm gonna be
read it.
honest. I didn't
well,
read it.
I read the first half and then I skimmed the second half.
So what are your
Only
thoughts?
because I'm European, so I'm a bit softer, and I just kind of I don't know if he wants to rewind the clock or he wants to stick to his guns, but I want the clock to be rewound for him and this not to have happened. I like the guy. I spent time with him in Miami.
Me
He's
too.
a
Yeah.
nice guy. He's a good dude, and I'm just finding what's happening to him brutal. And I know it's like he deserves it, and I know that's his toxicity, yada yada. And I don't know. I just feel sorry for him. I feel sad.
I don't know him that well, but I think I think he's a very intellectual guy, and I think sometimes what happens to very intellectual people is they take a stance and they don't consider all the angles. Right at the end of the day, there's if someone would have told him that this was an 80% chance of happening, I don't think he would have gone about it the same way. That's a good way to say it. But in other interviews, I think it comes down to him saying like, hey, I'm going to be me and you can't change me either way because this is my freedom to say what I want. And, from a financial standpoint, I think a lot of people jump to conclusions that maybe were a little bit extreme and then it just got worse. And now I think it serves more as a warning, not to people on that level where, authors and thought leaders and stuff like that, but more to everybody new entering the space to say like, hey, listen, the temptation to take easy money never goes away. And that is why Bitcoiners are so like militant or whatever you want to call it towards like do this path, do this thing, don't do these things, do this. It's because they feel like the temptation is really bad. And if you liken it to something else, whether it's like a religion or whatever, there's obviously like certain things that like are sort of non-negotiable in those belief sectors. And in this case, this particular thing has been seen since inception as such a one-way street. You pay in Bitcoin to like get these tokens. It's bullshit because you can't get your Bitcoin back. So anything you can't get your Bitcoin back is somewhat of a scam or a full scam, right? And that's the way a lot of us see it. And regardless of who it is, that's the way I look at it. So
What I want Rob to do is I want Rob to come out and say, listen, guys, I needed the money. I promoted and then I dumped a shitcoin. I tried to get one past you because I knew it was unethical. I fucked up. And I'm sorry, I'm obviously not a shitcoiner. I obviously don't believe in this project. And just a human error on my part. I
But
don't
what if
want.
that's not what happened?
I
But
don't
what
want
if
That's not
that's
what
not
happened
what
at all.
happened?
but
Yeah,
that
that's
is
not what
that's
happened at all. If you
but
read
that's an
his thing,
assumption.
which is his thing is
I
like
know,
3,000 words. I read the whole
Yeah,
thing,
but
and he says,
but
"I did not
CJ,
need the
you
money." You know,
yeah, but you could easily argue, well, that's you're post rationalizing something. The let's go. Let's just go to the point pre draining the wallet, where he's just said, "I'm just going to have a look at this." Right now, my only defense of this is that what it like. I know everyone's called it a scam, but what if he's intellectually wanting to look at it because he's like considering, is there a better way to run social networks? And the reason I'll put that out there is like, we have Bitcoin maxis that understand that Ethereum is a piece of shit, and they've had to play with Ethereum to understand that. They've had to look at it, they've had to dig into the code. So pre-draining the wallet, he was getting a lot of shit, and I was thinking, well, hold on, I want to look at BitClout, I want to see how it works. I think it's kind of interesting. I haven't.
Okay, so my take on that, and I understand where you're coming from completely, which is to say that anybody should be allowed, because it's a free world, to investigate whatever they want academically. Here's the difference: you don't put it on Twitter. You can Google something, and you can investigate things. You can
You
look
say
things
that.
up. You can look things up without having to tweet a link, or maybe you can phone a friend. Hey, call Jimmy, call HODL, call one of these other people that is, or call Peter McCormick, call somebody, right? If like I can.
He said, did he not say within the piece that, I didn't read the piece, but somebody told me that he said within the piece that he wanted to see if he could pump up the value of the BitClout token, right?
He wanted he wanted to see if him tweeting about it was going to have a big enough effect to move the price of his token,
and it
or
did,
whatever,
and it did,
and it did. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. He also says, "I'm not sorry I did this. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not toxic, and this proves it that like I am a freedom maximalist. I'm going to do whatever I want. No one can tell me what to do, and if someone judges me, I'm going to block them, and I don't give a shit." And that's like kind of a summary. Now that's fine, right? That's fine because it's his life. He can live it however he wants. It's the problem is, and like this is what I, as an athlete, I can tell you that this is very common. Okay, hero worship leads to disappointment, broken hearts, and posters torn off the wall. Okay, people are like, "God damn it, Robert, I loved you." You know what I mean? Because he's like this alpha male buff dude that writes all this stuff and uses big words, and people are like, "Look, it's a really smart guy. It's a smart guy in Bitcoin. It's not just some Cheeto eating dude in the basement that didn't do anything before this." But everybody is subjected to the same rules on the internet, which is that if you tell people things, they're gonna look it up. If I throw a stat out there like, "Oh, I threw the fastest fastball in history," people are gonna be like, "Fuck this guy. There's no way he did." Right? They're gonna look it up. So if you do anything, people are gonna Google it. People are gonna look it up. They're gonna check your Wikipedia. They're gonna check YouTube. They're gonna look it up. And as a result of him having a lot of material out there to sift through, he's getting ripped to shreds by people that have seen all these other things that he's said over the last couple of years. The reality is, he's been in Bitcoin probably about the same amount of time that I've been in Bitcoin, but I've only been like a personality in Bitcoin or whatever, like for 3 months because of Clubhouse, because I went in there and said some profound shit, did some impersonations. People are like, "Wow, this guy gets it." But like, I'm not trying to sell a book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be a Bitcoin personality in that regard. I'm a baseball person. I'm a car dealer, but I just happen to like have a very hard stance on Bitcoin. But I'm more of like a political person in that regard. I think that politically we have problems. Bitcoin can solve our political problems. That's my thing. I don't think like financially, if you want to mine Ethereum and flip it to Bitcoin, it's like you're kind of helping the Ethereum network to do that because you're providing security for it. But like once proof of stake comes out, then you can't even do that unless you have 30 Ethereum, which who wants to get caught holding that fucking bag? So I don't know. But like I traded a lot of other shit on the way up to like becoming a Bitcoin only person. So yeah, but I haven't written a book saying I've only ever been Bitcoin person, like if that makes sense. So
right, let me put something else at you, because I always try and think these things through just on I'm somebody who makes shows, and I'm thinking, is there an interesting topic here? The BitClout thing I struggle with, because we all knew it was a piece of shit. We've known for a long time, but the wider issue is like, are we getting ourselves into a position where there's things we can't talk about? We're trapping ourselves in a corner. Let me give you an example. So I did a show today with Nadav, who's fucking great, and did all about why Bitcoin matters and other blockchains are a piece of shit, right? And we covered Ethereum quite a bit, but the one thing on Ethereum that like always goes around in my head is that there are large parts of the Bitcoin ecosystem that benefits from stable coins. They absolutely, without doubt, benefit from stable coins for people trading in and trading out. Okay. And there are parts of companies which are Bitcoin only that have had parts of their business built using stable coins. So I'm like, well, I definitely need to look at Ethereum because I need to think about this stablecoin thing. You know, if I'm going to countries whereby people want Bitcoin or a synthetic dollar because they want to trade between the two, well, I need to at least look at Ethereum and discuss it and understand, you know, how stable it is, what its long-term future is. But I feel like even raising that issue, if I put on Twitter, I'm like, I need to take a look at Ethereum because of stable coins. I almost can't be fucked because I know the bullshit you're going to get from it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But I think the difference is going out and doing independent investigation off camera, right? Versus saying, okay, well, I'm going to take a position on this before I've researched it, if that makes sense, because it's an indirect endorsement of something. If you go out there and say, hey guys, I really think it's important that ERC20 tokens are actually like considered as like logical to hold, which, you know, to be fair, you can make a supporting argument for that, right? Because in a lot of exchanges, that is the on-ramp, off-ramp. You can't put dollars onto some of these exchanges because they don't accept dollars, right? So that's the reality. And that's, I think, a logical case there, right? But you're not necessarily pumping up the value of a stablecoin to do that.
No. What I'm saying is you're missing the point.
You're right. There's
what I'm saying, forget the
rates.
pump. Yeah, it feels like it's like an off-limits conversation, but the elephant in the room is that people are using stablecoins. And I'm like, well, I definitely need to look at Ethereum because of this, because it's part of the ecosystem and people use it. But I'm like, if I do this, I'm just going to get fucking shouted at, harassed. It's like, oh, I can't even be bothered. And that's why I worry that we've gone so far down the like toxic rabbit hole. We are missing the ability to just even look at some things.
Well,
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bitcoin maximalism is a bell curve phenomenon. And on the right side of the bell curve, you know, you have the people who have done all of the first principles thinking, all of the independent research, and concluded after sifting through everything that Bitcoin is the way, the truth, the light, right? On the left side, you have pure unbridled dogmatism. So a lot of Twitter is going to be pure unbridled dogmatism, but that doesn't mean they're not right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a little complicated to just say everybody's so toxic and they're so mean to me. And yet there is a certain
I don't think everyone is.
Well, no, I'm just saying there's a certain sect of Bitcoiners, and we all know some of the names, you know, who, these people have mental health issues. They're just being assholes just to be assholes. And they would be toxic about anything. And they're like the SJWs of Bitcoin. And honestly, they all need to, you know, shut the fuck up because they're fucking annoying. They have nothing to say and they provide no value. But, you know, most Bitcoiners are not like that. I would say 99% of Bitcoiners are not like that. Most Bitcoiners have done a fair amount of first principles thinking about this. And like in relation to the Rob situation, I'll tell you that I get texts and I get DMs from very well-respected people that we all know in the Bitcoin space who are disappointed in this action by Rob, but don't feel that they need to cancel him. Do feel that there is a path to, you know, repentance for this, but it's essentially like you got to stop lying, because that page of, you know, this is all independent inquiry, it's just, listen, it's bullshit. And we all know it's bullshit. And you just can't slip one by the community like this. You can try and do that. You can keep doubling down. But, you know, essentially people
That's a bad
are
strategy.
not. Yeah, it's a bad strategy. People are not going to engage with your stuff anymore. What you need to do is say, listen, I did do this. The mimetic attack on me was extremely distressing as an individual because, Peter, you know, you've been through one. CJ, you know, you're a professional pitcher. Like, they used to write terrible things about you in the newspaper. It is very distressing when you're a human and you go through these kinds of things. And you can make rash decisions like, you know, the mass blocking or calling everybody else out and not looking inward and these kinds of things because, you know, it's a very defensive posture. And I get it, right? But at some point you have to just be like, this was a fuck up. this was a fuck up on my part. Like I shouldn't have done
take
this.
the loss. You have to take the loss and be accountable to that. It's very simple. And like, and if you do that, everybody forgives the person that is accountable and takes the loss and doesn't try to keep doubling down. And that's where you have these like this political side of it and the social side of it, which are definitely different than the mathematical argument or the toxic maximalist argument or whatever you want to call it. But
by the way, one more point. I want to say this. Like, there's been so much discussion this cycle about toxic maximalism. And the reason there's so much discussion about that is because basically nobody is actually doing a first principles analysis on why Bitcoin is successful, why Bitcoin is here to stay, why nation states are adopting Bitcoin. That's the kind of thing you do when you have nothing to say. You say, Bitcoiners are mean. Let's talk about why Bitcoiners are mean to me on Twitter, right? And that's been a lot of the conversation around quote unquote toxic maximalism this cycle, because these people just have no answers. They have no like worthwhile opinions. All of their criticisms of Bitcoin have fallen on deaf ears over the years because they're all nonsense. The best critiques come from inside Bitcoin. And so what do? They go, these people are mean to me. Come on. We're in the fucking playground. Who cares if people are mean to you?
It's not always that way. Like, I know what you're saying, but
it's mainly that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think
Eric Weinstein's a good example, right?
That's
Eric
enough
Weinstein's
of it for sure.
You know, like he has offered no meaningful contributions to Bitcoin, yet he wants to tell us all how to be. And it's like, no thanks, man. Like I like Eric Weinstein too. I like Eric Weinstein. I think he's been more engaging in good faith than he has been not engaging in good faith. But it's also like all of these lessons, all of these trade-offs, the way this thing functions, this was fucking hard-won knowledge. We're not going to just bend over and give it up for you who just got here 2 minutes ago because you don't like our disposition. We're going to keep being the way we are. You know?
I spoke to him today, so I have to approve. I mean, I don't have to do it. Someone else could do it. But I approve all the YouTube comments because there's so much spam, and it ruins the feed. And so I just go through tick, 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 block, block. The Weinstein interview has split the listeners more than anyone.
That was a frustrating interview for me to listen to. I told you about this in Miami. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, it was frustrating for me, and I want to do it again, and I want to let him talk and be less combative. But the thing is about the comments is that what I think I figured out is that some were brutal, like you're an idiot, you're too low IQ, and the others were completely the other way. Eric can't explain anything. Me and Eric talked about this today, and neither of us have thrown each other under the bus. And I think we need to do another one because we figured each other out. But what I think has happened with that one, because I took it really to heart, I've started like really looking at the comments, and actually what I think these are people who are shitcoiners, or they're no coiners, or they're Eric Weinstein fans who've discovered the interview and watched it, and they don't fully understand Bitcoin yet, and therefore they're seeing maximalists arguing with Eric and think you shouldn't be fucking arguing with him. He's a genius. But it's such a tricky. I don't think it's an interview that you can like the President Bukele one. Universally, everyone loves it. I shut the fuck up. I let him talk, and he just did a great job. This one, I don't think you can do one that everyone likes with Weinstein.
Listen, the enemies of freedom, the enemies of liberty, the enemies of Bitcoin are sharpening their knives to go against Bitcoin right now. You expect us to be nice to you on Twitter? The answer is no. The answer is straight up no. We're not going to be nice to you.
Yeah, because
there's something more important.
Something.
This is more important than your feelings. It's way more important than your feelings. This is not a business. We're not a corporation. Somebody told me the other day on Clubhouse I'm doing a bad job marketing for Bitcoin. I was like, I'm not a marketer, fuckface. I'm not here for you. I'm here for myself. You know?
Yeah. And I think you're right about that. And to address both those points, it doesn't matter how smart you are. It matters how well you can articulate the point you're trying to make. And I think that's what if Eric had somebody like to actually type out his words and like an editor, like his book would be incredible, right? Because you could take all these combative things that he says, like, oh, well, they haven't done anything for anybody yet. They haven't done this. They haven't done that. They haven't made a new university. And it's like, okay, well, hang on a second. Bitcoin's 10 years old, right? What has Silicon Valley done? So it's like,
but CJ, this is what I pride myself on. This is what I pride myself on, is that I can get people to do that. Because
but it's not
because I have a talent. It's just my level of understanding is at the right bar that when they say something I don't understand, I'm like, can you explain that better? And I could not get him to do it in a way.
But that's a result of his psychological status. It's not a result of his
No, it's
intelligence
not.
or his IQ. It's a result of him maybe
No,
being
it's
in a
not.
bad mood or whatever.
No,
It's not that hard to
Rogan.
explain these things.
Rogan manages to do it, and Rogan is like he's the best out there at this, and I take full responsibility. I think if I'd have been less combative when I got onto the combative, is that the right word or combative?
Combative, yeah.
Combative.
Tomato,
If
tomato.
I'd been less combative, then when we got to those difficult bits, I think he might have been more forthcoming. But I think I put him into a position where he felt like he was in a bit of an argument, like he was anti-Bitcoin, we're pro-Bitcoin, and he wasn't. He is pro-Bitcoin, but he just has these ideas. Whether they're right or wrong, I definitely fucked that one up.
But here's
And
the
the
thing, though.
answer-
That's okay. That's okay that
Yeah.
if this is his version of being pro Bitcoin, that's fine. Do a you. We don't really care. That's the whole point. And if you're trying to inspire a spiritual, a revolutionary change in the people, which is what we talk about, right? In a lot of ways, that Bitcoin does that, then you have to find a way to actually talk about why that happens. And I think that's what Robert was trying to do with a lot of his, text and stuff over the years, is he was trying to put out this thing to say, hey, listen, this is connected, And reading some of the stuff, I'm like, okay, this is like a little bit of word salad. You can do this better. But I was a writing major, so I'm always very critical when I read things. And I think the best way to say it in any way, as an interviewer, as a subject, can you say what you're trying to say? Can you make your point in as few simple words as possible? We don't have to get into massive polysyllabic battles. We don't have to have these huge things. You can use a metaphor that can make sense, right? HODL had this tweet stream the other day, and it was like, this is your portfolio. This is your diversified portfolio. And it was like Helm's Deep, boom. You know what I mean? And that's because it's evocative imagery, which is why memes are so effective for people that are under 50 years old, because we understand the cultural reference. We understand the comedic reference. We understand the designation that you're giving to that person in terms of status. Like in Japanese, it's 8 levels of formality when you're speaking Japanese. So memes have this same thing. Like you put a clip out of the movie White Girls, that's going to have a totally different effect than the movie from like The Graduate or whatever. So you just have to know your audience in a lot of ways, and people that can tailor their diction to the audience will win over many people, right? Regardless of the subject. We could be talking about solar panels, lions, vintage race cars, or hats, or whatever. And if you're approachable and you talk with the other person in mind, that's what like emotional intelligence is. That's the EQ, and that's just something that Eric doesn't have a lot of. He has a lot of IQ, but there's plenty of people that have both, and that's where you wouldn't necessarily put him on stage to win everybody over at a political rally, because that's not his vibe, right? He needs
To answer
a little bit more
dynamic Eric's central question from that interview, because I thought about it. He basically asked, can the decentralized people do centralized things? And the answer is some of them can, in smaller tribes, factionalized. And that's what's going to happen. Essentially, no, there is no Bitcoin community. We're not going to move as one unit. We're not going to do big centralized things, but there will be, factions that split off and they do their own thing. And, you can think about it like, the Catholic Church and all the offshoots of the Catholic Church. Like Bitcoin maximalism is the Catholic Church. Like it is the big, powerful entity that draws in the most power, influence, and social significance. And then you have other smaller sects that orbit it. And that's sort of how we've been evolving in the space for a while now. And I don't see any reason that's going to, discontinue anytime soon.
But the problem of that is when someone like Henry VIII comes in and wants to make his own rules and make his own church, right? That's where you have based on whims, not based on like Lutheranism, where they're making.
Well, we see that in like Bcash or BSV or and any of the fork coins, right? And Bitcoin is like Christ. Everybody can get together and love Christ, no matter what their different flavoring of blockchain is. It's like Bitcoin is at the core, is at the center of it all. But you have to stay within social consensus in order to be a part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, whether you have a different moral flavoring, social flavoring, in-group, out-group dynamic, all of that kind of stuff. And like we are just going to see more and more disparate Bitcoin tribes, and Bitcoiners hate each other, man. Bitcoin is money for enemies,
But the centralization thing though is interesting, because it's like there's a lot of very centralized entities out there that are running everything, right? You have non-government organizations, you have governments, you have all these other things. So right now we're seeing a sort of effervescence, right? You're seeing these plebes kind of rise up as they have more financial power. Using my fingers here, so for anybody that's listening, that can't see it, it's like the grass growing, right? And eventually, the grass and the seeds of the grass spread, and you get more and more people, more plebs stretched out across the world that are holding Bitcoin, whether it's 0.1 or 0.01 or whatever in their wallet. They are a Bitcoiner. We're all on the same Bitcoin team in that regard. But the thing is, as that influence, has like I would say it's going to have a wider effect, and the wider effect is going to create a central voting block in certain places where you're going to have someone like Cynthia Lummis, who's probably going to always attract Bitcoiners to Wyoming to live in her district, right? Realistically, then you're going to have people like Suarez that are bringing in businesses actively. Hey guys, come here, get away from Gavin Newsom's idiocy. Come to me. We will take care of you. We'll bring you bikinis. It'll be awesome. We'll have little drinks with like umbrellas in them. So you're going to see more mainstream people trying to adopt Bitcoin as a result of wanting the plebs. That's really how it's going to go. It's the opposite. We're not going to have a thought boy or a think boy come out and just be like the spike, and everyone's going to be like, think boy, bow before think boy. That's not the reality for how this movement goes. This movement comes from the ground up, like grass, like seeds, and it's going to spread wide. And the width of it is going to be the numbers. The numbers are the girth. The girth is what moves.
Using the grass analogy, I think is interesting because in a decentralized movement, when certain blades of grass get too high, when their egos get too big, they got to get whacked back down so that they can be in line with everybody else. Now, is that an autoimmune response, or is that a healthy, manicured English garden? You tell me, Peter McCormack.
It's an English garden.
There you go. So we just got to keep rolling the grass. You got to keep rolling the grass to keep everybody humble and stacking sats. And if people are trying to use their pile of Bitcoin, right, which some people have a much bigger pile of Bitcoin than others, if they're trying to use that as a weapon, then that's when they need to get whacked. And if they're trying to use that influence like for the wrong reasons, it's very easy to see through that. And then people are going to turn because they're getting shade then because this one guy is trying to overshadow everybody else. And that's just where it becomes a problem socially. But if we want to have solutions socially, then it's because we communicate and keep the good ideas shared between people. And we only get one vote at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who you are, you get one vote. You know?
Hold on. Does this feel like he's pitching to be the new Breedlove? It feels like a pitch.
Give a shit about that. No.
Yeah, it does.
I just think
he's going to come out with like a 84-page essay tomorrow on some like deep philosophical shit where you need to take acid to understand it.
Did someone tell you about my Substack already, Peter? Did you already read my Substack?
I tell you what, like his Twitter handle tomorrow is going to be CJ Love.
I think, honestly, one of the best things you can do is cut yourself down repeatedly. Like, there's a reason I don't have a high follower account on Twitter because I don't want to have a high follower account on Twitter. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be. Is that why
you only wear white t-shirts?
Yes.
So you can be you got a monocolor culture.
I'm a monocolor maximalist, yeah.
No, but Peter, this is the thing, right? The best and strongest structures develop away from the light, right? It's very hard to build something perfect in front of everybody. You can't pull off the magic trick that we're trying to with Bitcoin, like in a glass case in the middle of like Wembley Stadium. It's not going to happen. It's going to be across. And it's going to be gradual, and it's going to just be like one day everyone's just going to wake up and be like, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin's just this thing we do." I don't think it's going to be this like it's not going to be a coup. It's not. This isn't Lenin taking power from the Romanovs in Russia. That's not what this is. Like, this is not that. So everybody has this militant vision of that, but it's a very slow version of that because you have election cycles, you have halvenings, you have all this other stuff. It's going to be very hard for Bitcoin, even if number go up. People aren't just going to be able to use their Bitcoin for influence because if you expose yourself like that, then there's a definite downside to that. So if people want, I don't know how many Bitcoin I have. Like, that's the thing that's going to be said. It's not going to be, oh yeah, well, this is how much I have, and this is when I bought it, and I bought it for this, because the people extrapolate that. They're like, oh, this guy's a target now, and you don't want to make yourself a target in Bitcoin. That's the privacy thing that makes it different than that's different than religion, which is sort of like, hey, follow me. I'm the Pied Piper. Fuck that. That's the problem. It's the people that do that that say like, let's march to Bitcoin town, those people are going to get wrecked socially or whatever, because they will trip at some point and the mob will run them over, and that's
Yeah.
always what happens.
Yeah, it is.
It always
It's
happens.
definitely
And in Bitcoin, Bitcoiners love to kill heroes. You know what I mean?
they want blood. They want blood.
They
Well,
want
they love
blood.
to be right.
Yeah,
They
they're
love
out
to
for
be
blood.
right. Yeah, they love to be right. So there's a suspicion about everybody in power. We're all suspicious of those people, right? So it's like, and because the people in power have to protect themselves and have to stay in power. That's the one thing they're really good at is,
And I mean, if I ever promote a shitcoin, play this podcast clip back, cancel me, meme me into oblivion, do your worst, because it will be deserved at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only where I'm at because I've been scammed. I'm only been where I'm at because I've been scammed and I've been ripped off by people, and I've had to sue people, and people have gone to jail, and like that's the only reason why that's the pain. But there will be pain. That is the teacher. If you're not willing to deal with that, you won't ever be as good at the Bitcoiner as you can be.
It was a bit like President Bukele when he campaigned to become president. He campaigned on that tagline. It was like, "There's enough money. We just have got to stop stealing it," or something. And the reality is, like, Bitcoin
genius.
What it is, because the last 4 presidents stole hundreds of millions. One's in Nicaragua, 2 in jail, and 1 died. But really, there's enough gains in Bitcoin as long as you're patient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All it takes is patience. I mean, think about it.
All it takes is 4 years. It takes 4 years.
I mean, well, think about it like this. Like, the CAGR on Bitcoin was 200% at the beginning of the decade, right? If the CAGR is even half that, or even if it's lower than that, let's say it's like 75%, somewhere between 50 and 100 going forward the next decade. And we don't know. We could go into hyperinflationary conditions. It could be even more than that, right? But let's just say, if you have, a certain amount of Bitcoin right now, like I did the math on this. If you DCA $20 a day every day for the next 10 years and the CAGR ends up being 75%, at the end of 10 years, you have $16 million. Okay? So there is tremendous appreciation, not only for the people that are already in Bitcoin, but for the people that are brand new. But you do need to stay the course. You need to be consistent. You need to be focused. You're not going to win because you got fancy trading this shitcoin for that shitcoin for this shitcoin. You're going to win because you're going to be behaviorally consistent over time. And at the end of the decade, you will have gifted yourself a brand new life, essentially. Like, people don't like to do this, though, because it feels like giving something to a stranger, because when you think about your future self, it's so far off that it feels like a stranger. But you can literally gift yourself a better life, and that's what.
But it doesn't even have to be that. But it doesn't have to be that $20 a day. It can be whatever you can afford, as long as you consistently do it. But whatever you can afford.
That's a specific
I'm
example.
saying whatever you can afford is the position you're at, and it's going to raise your standards over that period. So if you're the guy who can only afford $5 a day, it's still going to raise your standard proportion. Unless you're like a moron who's living far out of his depth, you're going to be able to raise your standards. So,
but that's the Satoshi versus the full Bitcoin argument, though, is like focus on stacking Satoshis. It's a smaller unit, then you can count from the bottom up instead of the top down. Because it's very demeaning to say that, I can only buy 0.000, right? Like, people get activity bias, they get unit bias on all that stuff. But if it's at 75%, HODL, this one's for you, then you're 10xing, in a couple, in a couple years as a result.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
I mean, think about it like this too. I hear people say that reputation is essentially worthless, and that this is an accumulation game, and so you should get as much Bitcoin as you possibly can. And I just have to say that if you take a longer time horizon on this, like if you have more patience, you will see that your reputation is as valuable as your Bitcoin, because the people in Bitcoin who know who you are, who've watched your journey, your peers, these people are going to have tremendous amounts of capital in the future. They're going to be the true risk capital, the next generation, Silicon Valley venture capitalist guys who are doing the exciting projects, putting money behind new startups, funding exciting ventures, trying to actually change the world with their wealth rather than just buying Lamborghinis. And you want to be invited in on those kinds of deals. So be greedy. Be greedy as fuck, but be greedy in the long term. Don't be greedy in the short term. That's like, I don't see how people can't see that. You know what I mean? Like,
because I think people have a hard time today, right? They're having a hard time today, and they're looking for a solution today for tomorrow. And they haven't lived through that volatility or they haven't accepted that volatility is just kind of normal. You know, like people have ups and downs for sure. And that's part
Right,
of the
Scarlett, what
part
did
of
I
normality.
promise you
What?
before I started?
Been how long?
And how long have I been?
Like 3.
No, I've been 2. I promised her an hour. She said, last time you said that, you were 2 hours. I said, no, definitely. It's only going to be an hour tonight. And then we've done 2 hours. Dudes, this girl.
Sorry,
No, it's my fault. She, tell the guys what you did today.
No.
For the school.
No.
She got in the school cricket team. She got in the boys' team.
Congratulations.
All right. There we go.
Yeah.
Come on.
Congrats.
And
Yeah.
2 wickets. She got 2 wickets.
That's awesome.
She got bowled out. Listen, come here. This is important. CJ. Right. So you're CJ, it's baseball similar. CJ's a pitcher, right?
What's
All right.
a picture?
Throws the ball.
Okay.
Yeah, throws the ball. CJ, how many home runs did you have in your major league career?
As a hitter, 0, but as a pitcher,
0.
I gave up home runs for sure. Yeah.
So you can't hear it. Oh, you're not even hearing this.
You hit 0.
Yeah, he hit 0, right? So
Yeah.
she got 2 wickets, which is basically like a strikeout, right?
Yeah.
She got 2 of those, but she didn't hit many runs, and she's worried about the runs. And I was trying to say, look, everyone's got their role to play in the game, right?
Yeah. It's specializing is job insurance, I would say. The job security is to be specialists at one thing, but then you can always get better as long as you're good enough at that one thing. They can't get rid of you, so you can work your way up on the other skill set. That's the key.
By the way, Scarlett, do you want to know something funny? See this guy here?
Mm-hmm.
He paid for the deposit on the Aston.
Was it?
The deposit. You know when I bought the Aston Martin?
Yeah.
Well, I had to give them a deposit of whatever, £20,000.
Don't worry, Scarlett. Your dad has actually been very nice to. He's going to give it back to me at the end of the year. So don't worry about it.
I'm not gonna.
It was nothing really. It was just a small loan.
Right.
What's this?
I'll talk about that in a minute. Listen, I've got to go and be dad. HODL, don't forget
go
to
do
send me
your
don't forget to send me your invoice for the show, right?
So fucking annoying. That's so annoying.
CJ, man, love you, brother. It's great to meet you in Miami. Thanks for coming on. We've got to do this again.
I'm
CJ,
in.
you're
Thanks,
awesome,
Peter.
dude. Love
Appreciate
it.
it.
And when we're next out in Yosemite, we'll come out. We'll see you, hang out. HODL, love
see
you,
some
bro.
bears.
Let's go see some bears and HODL. I'll see you soon, man.
Tell MI6 I said what's up.
All right. Well, just send me your invoice. I'll see you later.